Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Welcome back to the third part of this lecture, and that is entry modes in international market. And we discussed franchising. Now I will move towards next mode. Joint ventures हो सकते हैं, ये एक और मोड है आपके पास जिसके थ्रू आप अपने बिजनेस ऑपरेशंस को एक्सपैंड करते हैं. It involves the establishment of a firm that is jointly owned by two or more otherwise independent firms. जैसे नोकिया एंड सिमंस एक अलग कंपनी, एक जॉइंट वेंचर था बिटवीन नोकिया एंड सिमंस. उसकी एक एग्जांपल हो सकती है जो आवाज डिसमेंटल हो चुका है. जॉइंट वेंचर्स आर अट्रैक्टिव बिकॉज a firm can benefit from a local partner's knowledge of the host country's competitive conditions, cultures, language, political systems, and बिजनेस सिस्टम्स. लाइकवाइज इस वक्त आप अगर देखें पाकिस्तान में जो चाइनीज ऑटोमोबाइल्स इंट्रोड्यूस कराई जा रही हैं तो वो किया निशाद ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनीज के साथ कोरियन कंपनी की प्रोडक्ट किया व्हीकल्स लॉन्च की जा रही हैं, या उसके अलावा यूनाइटेड व्हीकल्स हैं तो वो भी पार्टनरशिप के साथ हैं. तो लोकल एक पार्टनर है पाकिस्तानी और एक चाइनीज या फॉरेन पार्टनर है जो मिलकर कोलैबोरेट कर रहे हैं. The costs and risks of opening of foreign markets are shared with the partner, and they can help firm avoid the risk of internationalization or other adverse government interferences जो business practices के लिए costly हो सकती हैं. Joint venture will not be attractive when the firm risks giving control of its technology to its partner, or the firm may not have the tight control over subsidiaries that it might need to realize experience curve or locations economies. And third reason can be जब joint venture आपके लिए attractive नहीं होगा, that is shared ownership can lead to conflicts and battle for control if the goals and objectives differ or change over the period of time. Wholly owned subsidiaries can be another option, which involves 100% ownership of the stock of subsidiary. Firms establishing a wholly owned subsidiary can set up a new operation in that country or acquire an established firms which will work as wholly owned subsidiary for the investing firms. Wholly owned subsidiaries are attractive because they reduce the risk of losing control over core competencies, and they give the firm the tight control over operations in the different countries that is necessary for engaging in global strategic coordination. Or they may be required if a firm is trying to realize location and experience curve economies. Wholly owned subsidiaries are unattractive because firms bear the full costs and risks of setting up overseas operations. This is a graphical, a chart-wise representation with advantages and disadvantages of each entry mode. Likewise, we have gone through in detail. This slide's purpose is just to summarize those key points, advantages and disadvantages of entry modes. So if you have any question, you are more than welcome to ask. Now comes the question, how should a firm choose a specific entry mode? That will be the third question they have to answer while developing strategy for entering in international markets. All entry modes have advantages and disadvantages, and the optional choice of entry modes involves the trade-offs between advantages and disadvantages. Core competencies of entry modes should include optimal entry modes depend on some degree on the nature of a firm's core competencies, which should include but not limit to technical know-how and management know-how. These are the two crucial factors when you are going to decide for entry mode for your international market operations. Technical know-how involves when competitive advantage is based on intellectual technological know-how. Firms should avoid licensing and joint ventures agreements in order to minimize the risk of losing control over the technology. However, if a technological advantage is only transitory or the firm can establish its technology as the dominant design in the industry, then licensing may be attractive. Management know-how, the competitive advantage of many service firms is based upon management know-how. International trademark laws are generally effective for protecting trademarks. Since the risk of losing control over management skills to franchise or joint venture partnership is not high, the benefits from getting greater use of brand name is significant. And pressure for cost reductions can be another advantage. Firms facing strong pressure for cost reductions are likely to pursue some combination of exporting and wholly owned subsidiaries. This will allow the firm to achieve location and scale economies as well as retain some degree of control over worldwide product manufacturing and distribution. Now comes the question that should we go for greenfield or acquisition? That depends on the number of cross-border acquisitions are increasing, and over the last decade, 40 to 80% of all foreign direct investment inflows have been mergers and acquisitions. Pros and cons of acquisitions are as follows. Acquisitions are quick to execute, enables firm to preempt their competitors, can be less risky than greenfield ventures. However, many acquisitions are not successful. Why do acquisitions fail? To understand the reasons for acquisition failure, we have to understand the following points. The firm overpays for the assets of the acquired firm, or there is a clash between the culture of the acquiring and acquired firm, or maybe there is a attempt to realize synergies by integrating the operations of the acquired and acquiring entities run into roadblocks and take much longer than forecasted, or there is inadequate pre-acquisition screening process which is not properly followed. So these can be the reason due to which acquisitions can fail. Now comes the question, how can firms reduce the problems associated with acquisitions? Firms can reduce the problems associated with acquisitions through careful screening of the firm to be acquired. जो screening process है उसको बड़ा detail oriented and every aspect should be considered before selection of the firm to be acquired, or by moving rapidly once the firm is acquired to implement an integration plan. Once the firm is acquired, then integration should be swift and followed by the strategic planning what you have developed for this specific purpose. Why greenfield ventures are attractive? Greenfield ventures are attractive because they allow the firm to build the kind of subsidiary company that it wants. However, greenfield ventures are slow to establish because you are going to establish your subsidiary right from scratch, and it will take time, resources, expertise to do though. And greenfield ventures are risky because they have no proven track record to be successful, or can be problematic if a competitor enters via acquisition and quickly builds market share as compared to your greenfield approach. Okay, I will conclude this chapter here, and I would love to have your questions in our WhatsApp group. I would love to answer your questions in the WhatsApp group. My understanding is कि जब हम अपने next interactive session के लिए मिलेंगे तो उससे पहले आप लोग मुझे अपने questions ज़रूर भेज चुके होंगे, और ये उसी सूरत में possible होगा जब आप पहले ये सारे के सारे मेरे वीडियो लेक्चर्स को सुनेंगे और पढ़ने की कोशिश करेंगे, और उसके बाद अगर आपके कोई क्वेश्चंस हैं तो आप मुझे वो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में मैसेज कर दीजिएगा, और हमारा जो इंटरेक्टिव सेशन होगा वहाँ पे मैं इनको आंसर करने की कोशिश करूँगा. टिल देन मेरी तरफ से बेटा अल्लाह हाफिज़.